Hello. I was trying to get video going and I can't get it going, so we're gonna do regular old no microphone. We're going old school. How's that? So this week, guys, we have Jared and Christelle Aston with us, and they're living on their boat right now in St. Martin and playing music for folks, and they have a whole bunch of good stories to tell us. So thanks for joining.
Thanks for having us, Diane.
So, my questions are pretty bare minimum, and you can elaborate any way you want. So why don't you tell us a little bit about where you guys are, where you're from, where you live in, and why?
You got it. My name's Christelle Aston. My husband, Jared Aston. We have our daughter, Riley, and our other daughter left the nest off the boat, Arden. She's up in Maine studying maritime. We live on a 43-foot sailing vessel. Her name is SV Catherine. We lost our possessions and our apartment in the Rockaways in New York due to Hurricane Sandy. So natural disaster flooded our stuff, ruined everything, and we took the pipe dream that was on the fridge in Brooklyn. We'd look at a boat. We had a photograph of a sailboat, really nice sailing yacht, and we thought one day we would do that when we retire, But then when you make lemonade out of lemons, so we were like, well, we don't, why get another apartment? We're displaced at the moment from Sandy. Why get another apartment, put another down payment? That's like, in New York, putting all those payments down, it's like putting a down payment on a house. So we're like, let's do the dream. Like, let's get the boat. So we found the boat 9 months later, the day of the 1 year anniversary of Sandy, October 29th, 2012, we sailed our 43-foot, our new boat to us. We sailed out and did our first offshore passage to the Caribbean, and we've been doing this ever since. It's for us, it's a really beautiful lifestyle. It's mobile, as you know, and comes with trials, and it comes with a lot of rewards. So it keeps us on our toes. So we really enjoy it.
That's cool. I remember when you guys were heading up to get the Catherine and set off on the journey, and there were a lot of people that were like, "These guys are nuts." They got two kids. They're gonna end up like, it's gonna be like Robinson Crusoe, the Mosquito Coast or something like. It's been what now, 7 years, or how long has it been?
We're going into our 10th year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Guys.
Right?
So, yeah, no kidding. So what's what do you want to share about, your music or living on a boat or what you're up to, or just lay it on us?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think everybody's getting kind of, back out of COVID and stuff, for musicians and whatnot. That's a big deal. And really for us, 2 years before COVID, there was a couple major hurricanes down here that, we had a little damage to the boat. She was in a boatyard then, and it kind of destroyed, a good number of music venues down here, because we had been using the boat to actually tour, so we'd get to the Caribbean and we would kind of like sail up and down the Caribbean and play music. We had a great route. We had great venues. We had regatta events that we would work with. And, Irma and Maria kind of, they put a real kink in our whole scene. So we really kind of it's been since then, honestly. That's 2018. So it's been since then, since we've really kind of been doing what we really love to do down here. And so this year has been great because we're kind of back at that. Not so much sailing, because beginning of this season, COVID was still a thing, and, kind of moving around between the islands, a lot of COVID tests and all this stuff, it was like kind of restrictive. But we love St. Martin. It's a great home base for us. It's a very international place. The island's half Dutch, half French.
That's where we are now.
And that's where we are right now in Marigot Bay and in French side St. Martin. And it's been fantastic. And the musicians here are amazing too. So we have our duo project that we do, Stell and Snugs. A lot of kind of a gypsy vibe thing. And then we have another group that's like a larger 7-piece like Boogaloo Soul group. It's all these like local musicians and some guys from Paris and Quebec, and they're all fantastic. And we've just been really kind of blessed to kind of get back into this kind of like gypsy boat music living that we really love to do down here.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. We missed you guys. We were when we were down in St. Croix this year, and you
Right.
decided to fly the coop to other countries, Caribbean islands. So we'll catch you on the rebound when you come up to New York. And so when are you guys up, and what are your plans when you come back up to New York?
Well, we get back up. I think our flight from here is May 7th. We're going to stash, this boat is going to get stashed on the island of St. Kitts. And we get up May 7th, and we have another boat. We've got the little 40-foot schooner that we run a little day charter business in Rockaway Beach for the summer. So we got some work we have to do on that boat to launch it and everything. She's out of the water in New Jersey right now. Get that launched, and we should be in New York, probably beginning of the third week or something, or end of the, sometime in the third week of May, we'll be in New York, and, kind of be in Rockaway Beach, running the charter business, playing music, and, enjoying the summer and getting back to our friends and people in New York.
Yeah, it's super cool. We can't wait to see you up here. I for those of you who will listen, I put up in the fortune cookie, the website if you want to book Stella and Snugs music or hear Stella and Snugs music. I also put the link to the boat charter in New York. So if you're in the New York area, and you want to have like a really cool sailing experience in Jamaica Bay, near the Rockaways, then check it out because it's really an amazing experience. So let's go back to boat living. There's a bunch of people down in the Caribbean that are doing the sailing things. I met a whole bunch of them this past time we were down, and I find one thing that everybody has in common, because of course everybody's different no matter where you go. But one of the things I have in common is that people just wanted to have a better life, have more peace of mind, um, just have more peace. Period. So how have you one raised kids on a boat, which is people would think God, you guys are nuts again, and but your kids are amazing and awesome. They're like the best kids I know. I hate to say that. I hope my son's not listening right now. But
You get in trouble.
yeah, so how did that all work out with kids and cats and everything else on a boat?
Some snakes.
Um, yeah, when we got hit with the Hurricane Sandy and lost the apartment and stuff, we decided, the most important thing for us was our children. We put them first, and we asked them at an impressionable age of 2 years old. Riley was 2 at the time, so she didn't really, she understood what was going on, but she was just along for the ride. But Arden was our oldest, was 11 at the time, and it's kind of an impressionable time to say, hey, do you want to live on a boat in the Caribbean and homeschool, have your parents homeschool you? I mean, at 14, 15, that'd be a harder reach, but at 11, you can, she went for it. So
Yeah.
that worked really well. And it was a challenge the first year. I know a lot of parents out there had to homeschool because of COVID, and there were a lot of challenges with that, especially working with school systems and the way that the school systems put the homeschooling together for the parents. Like, there are a lot of logistical nightmares, but we found some really good homeschooling programs that were legit, that worked for us, such as Oak Meadow, Calvert School, Keystone. So we've gone through some programs and it really worked for them. The biggest thing with my kids is that they learn to be self-resilient, self-motivated, early on. So we see the benefits with our oldest in college. she doesn't have to do finals because she's graded so high at school. They're like, well, if you can do a 95% or higher, we won't make you take finals. So she's just got her feet up, got her feet up ready to go have the weekend. And she said, Mom, it was because I was self-motivated. It was because you made me become self-motivated homeschooling that that these tools have really helped me, in university and other decisions I make in my life. So I'm like, okay, cool. That's great. So I see the benefits of it for that. Also, a lot of people may say to us like, oh, and don't you feel so isolated from everyone else? Well, we have to go to shore to get groceries. We have to go to shore to do laundry. We go to shore to go to the beach. We're always making new people. And
Yeah.
if, from port to port, my kids learned really fast, like, all right, we're only in Grenada for 2 weeks. Quick, we got to make friends. So they made friends fast. And that's another thing, like, yeah, we made fast friends. And yes, we leave and we come back, and we usually made it a point to revisit the places we went to because they made such meaningful connections with other children.
We're also kind of going back to those places as musicians too,
To work,
like
yeah.
doing our thing, like
Yeah.
you build relationships with venues and stuff, so you kind of just like you tour on land, you create this route of like venues that get what you do and you work well with them. And all of that really ended up being beneficial in the sense that our kids made friends that they're like lifelong friends. It's
Right.
not like, oh, we were there for 2 weeks. They stay in touch with people, and it's not isolated on any level. I mean, if we were on video right now, I could show you. There's a little city, a town ashore, but out here in the harbor,
The city of boats.
there's like 100 boats on anchor.
Yeah.
It's like we have our small floating city out here of a whole nother community of people that live the same life, and that commonality of boat life. There's a thing there where like people help each other in a sense that is very different than on land, because you could find yourself in an emergency out on the water, so and you may need help, and everyone out here knows that. So when someone
Right.
needs assistance, everyone's more than happy to give it, because it could be you next. There could be some emergency or whatever, and it's not like there's constant emergencies out here, but it's like it's a different mentality of why you would do that. It's not
Yeah.
just to be nice, it's because there's a function of doing that you need to be a part of to make this whole thing work. And I think with the kids and the schooling, that it's that self-reliance, and long-term homeschooling, they learn how to learn, so in a very different way than I learned how to learn in traditional school. I found my oldest daughter, she was doing calculus her last year of high school, kind of teaching herself through the textbooks, which I would have thought like impossible when I was in high school. And I'm looking at her, I'm like, are you okay? Like, are you, because I can't help you right now. Like, I barely got through calculus in high school, man. I got like a C. I can't help you. So if you need a tutor, let me know. And she was able to do that. And then that's when it clicked for me, like, oh, like this whole process has taught you how to learn. So if I gave you like an old school manual to repair an old truck, that would be confusing to most people. You could probably like get through that because you've learned this way, So I think that's an important sort of take on it. You can't hide in the back of the classroom. You're not being spoon fed things, not, it's like you're on your own in that way, and you have some assistance, maybe some tutoring, but it really pipes up your brain's capacity to sort of like digest new information, which
Yeah.
everyone has the capacity to do. It's just a matter of like, is that a brain muscle you're exercising?
Yeah, it's funny because I'm going to use the term institutional, and it's not intended really to be anything except descriptive,
Right.
but people raise their the I guess there's people who have concerns about raising your children in non-institutional environments, because then when they get older, like how do they, the argument is that school is intended to get you prepared for the workplace and intended to get you to learn how to collaborate with others, and you have to learn how to share and all this other stuff. Um, so, I mean, what's your take on that? Because we all know that institutional education comes along with its pros and cons. You end up,
Right.
kind of being mushed through, uh, while not intended because of the masses of people. I think it mushes through into a bit of mediocrity so that everybody can, like, go through the cog and get churned out, in a way in which then they can get jobs in institutional organizations and collaborate with others. But it's not the only way to live. So,
Right, right. Well, I
what do
think
you think
that
about it?
the one thing that I think that I've noticed the most that really stuck out was that homeschool kids are not associated with a cohort, right? So we all, like I went through traditional, institutionalized schooling where, you're grade 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you're in this classroom with children that are basically your age, and you it's like Lord of the Flies, you know what I mean? Like that little unit becomes its own little mini society, and it does the same things that every other societal group does by sort of like ostracizing those that aren't. So grade 3, no one's hanging out with kids that are in grade 2, and no one's hanging out with kids that are in grade 4. Like there's this propensity to like not do that. And so as you go through the system longer, it kind of becomes more and more prevalent. And by the time you get to high school, like it is just a known thing. Like you're going to get to high school as a freshman, you're going to get hazed. That's like
Right.
the thing to expect. Homeschool kids, what I've seen with the boat kids and all this stuff, they are like this multi-age group, and there's like 10-year-olds playing with 6-year-olds and kids that are 18 hanging out with kids that are 12, and they're like and kids that are 12 that can have a decent conversation with an adult.
Right.
There's like a very different approach to to societal integration because you are not being put through that cohort system. And unfortunately, in institutionalized education, there really isn't much of an option there, although institutionalized education could do a much better job of trying to integrate age groups, of dealing with people who have developmental disabilities and things like that, to kind of like get the mediocrity out and kind of force some better integration. But that's like one of the main problems of the world, right? Is like the integration thing, allowing subsets of society to kind of like separate themselves, or to force them to separate themselves, creates this barrier that's very difficult to get through. And I think with the homeschooling, I've really kind of seen that in full action with children. So most people that tell me like, oh my God, your kids are so amazing, they're so great, and I'm like, well, really the thing is that they're not afraid to talk to you.
Right.
When I was a kid at age 12, I was kind of like afraid to talk to adults. I felt like I was not at their level, so I couldn't really speak to them. So I think that's like a big part of how that is beneficial, and how I think institutionalized education has this, sort of failure. I don't want to say failure, but it's a very difficult problem to overcome, because how can you create a system that can educate the masses without having grade groups and stuff? And then, if you remember when we were in high school, in school, like if a kid got left back or something like that, it was like the worst thing,
Oh
like,
yeah.
oh man, he's in 7th grade but he's 14. It was like the kid, it was like the kid was a serial killer or something like that.
Yeah. Or
Horrible.
summer school was the other one. It was like, you're in
Oh
summer school, like,
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
yeah. I mean, I don't know. We probably all have experienced going to regular school. Is just, I feel like you trying to hold on to your individuality is like, trying to hold yourself from falling off a cliff with one finger.
mm,
It's really tough to try to keep your individuality, and it's much easier to try to fit in because it's easier. Like if
yeah,
you fit in, it's easier, and you're not going to get picked on. You can make yourself kind of invisible and, slide your way through.
right,
Uh,
Right.
but I don't think that serves well for developing kids and into productive adults.
right.
Right.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
it's really antithetical to the process, honestly. Like, especially with our oldest, now that she went to college and seeing like how well she's doing. It's like, yeah, well, she's had to be responsible for her own work since she was 12, and that transition was extremely difficult for her because, she was already in sixth grade at that moment. So she had to completely like flip the switch in a way. But the benefit to that is like, when she got into college, she was ready for that situation. She was fully prepared for that, having to be responsible for your own actions and work. Whereas most of the, her classmates were not. They're just they're still kind of like getting out of high school. You know what I mean? She's already, she never went in. It's just she never saw it.
Well, I think the highlight here is that for people out there, like, to live an unconventional lifestyle has a lot of benefits.
Mhm.
It's also not easy. It is not easy. We live 400 square feet or less, and we don't have a lot of things. But that's the beauty of that too. We don't have a lot of things. We have each other. We have our clothes. We have food. We have our instruments. We have the things that we need to work. We have our tools to make sure the boat's still staying afloat. There's things that, it's a lot of work, but the benefits are, we get to spend, and we get to spend more time with our children. So that for us is a gift. So if we could pass anything on, is there is a way to, you have a pipe dream. You just need a plan. You need a plan, whether it be a 2-year plan, a 5-year plan, whether the plan is a year long, whether the plan is a couple months long. If you make a plan and execute, you'll see it through.
It's also simplicity too. I think, this there obviously, like, boat life, there's plenty of complexities involved with it.
Right.
But it's a simple life in the sense that, like, you're sort of carrying everything with you, and we've pared life down. And I think back to when we were living in Brooklyn with a child in 5th, 6th grade, and, like, all of the activities and scheduling and driving here and it just was like working full-time jobs to pay the rent, and everybody was so hectic and crazy.
Yeah, it wasn't quality.
It really wasn't quality.
No.
It was just so difficult to make everything happen, and just nuts.
Yeah.
And that could be New York, or that could be, people that live in suburban America, like everybody kind of goes through this on some level.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go out into rural places where you've got like farmers and stuff, and they live a little more of like this kind of like, self-sufficient life, and try and pare things down to like a somewhat simpler thing, and you see like this difference in mentality, and you don't have to give anything up to do that. You're actually, you're shedding the things that you don't need. You don't need that hectic life that just clouds your mind from, it's like it's a wall to happiness. You know what I mean? Like, you're trying.
Hamster in the hamster wheel.
It's the Great Wall from happiness.
Yeah.
So, hey, I'm going to ask you in one word for the both of you. What do you miss about living on land?
You first, Stell.
Endless showers.
I knew showers were going to come in there. What about you, Jared?
It's a good question.
Just what pops out of your mind right away, Jared. Don't think about it too much.
A freezer.
See?
Christelle wants the hot shower hot. I want the cold. I don't know.
Yeah. So what? I mean, you guys are coming up in May into New York. So if anybody does want to book you for boat charters, you're available. The website's up in the cookie. And for those of you who are going to listen on the podcast or listening on YouTube, I'll put the links into those channels as well. So what are you working on now that's kind of cool? We're going to go a little bit longer if you have the time.
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay.
Right now it's like, there's always a transition time for us, like, between like when we're moving, from one place to the next. but we're kind of always got some music in the pipe, whether it's stuff that we're writing or new material that we're working on. So as far as the Stell and Snugs thing, that's a project that's been going on for 9 years. So we kind of always just have this repertoire that's changing and building. So we have some unreleased material that we are still needing to kind of like get videos together for. So we have a YouTube channel that we have a video we put out like a month and a half ago or something like that. It's really fun. And we've got a whole slew of material that needs to go through that same process. We have another unreleased record that was a tribute record to a woman I studied jazz organ with, featuring myself and this guitar player Ed Cherry, who worked with Dizzy Gillespie for a long time. That's one that's kind of in the pipe. The record's done, and we're just kind of had to work on some, getting some reviews from Downbeat and stuff like that, and try and get it into a nice legitimate spot, to be released. So that's a fun thing.
I have a pipe dream, like make the plan and execute it. So my next pipe dream is to get to France and stay on a canal boat or rent a canal boat for the maybe fall, maybe a couple months, and literally put the flute in my backpack, have a bike on the canal boat, do the lock system through France, and just play some little gigs around France. Like, I would so love to do that. You don't need a weather window. It goes one knot. Go through, like, it's just one way to see this country. I would just love to do that. So that's on my bucket list next. So I'm hoping the next couple years we can be on the canal boat doing some little gigs on bikes with little instruments.
It's funny because you said my dream is to go to France, and I was like, you could just stop right there, But if you guys need roadies or anything, we're always down.
They're very easy to. The canal boats are very user friendly, so maybe we get a little caravan going. Let's do this.
Yeah, it's pretty cool too, because the canal boats, like, all the canals have like the rubber bumpers, so even if you get drunk and like mess it up, like you just like bounce it off the rubber bumpers on the walls.
Yeah, it's like bumper boats when you were kids. You just got like this one little lane. You can't really do much. You just can go like, and you certainly, it's not like you can turn the things around. You like, most of the canals are the lengths of the canals are so narrow. Like, you got to wait to get to a point to even turn around. So you're just like, well, I can go in one direction right now.
Well, maybe
it's great.
I think we're onto something. We could put together like a flotilla.
Yeah.
Have like our gypsy caravans. Whoever wants to do that, like, we'll just get a little group together. Let's go. Yeah, let's do this.
That'd be so fun. Like a canal carnival.
Yes. So everyone, bring your skills to the table. Your fire dancer, sword swallower, chainsaw master, whatever skill set you have, we can make into a show.
Can we get the guy who can hammer a nail in his nose? I love that guy. Love that guy. He's so good.
I'm liking this. I think this is going to develop into something.
Oh yeah.
Well, we get all kinds down here. Like our good friends down here who own one of the venues that we work at regularly. The husband also runs a brewery here called Pelican, and he's like he's a real, like, French gypsy theater kind of guy. And he's like, man, I want like a big boat. I want a mobile brewery that has like a carnival. We've been talking about this for like a few years now. So I'm like, man, one of these days, like, that's going to happen, because this idea is not going away. It's going to be some crazy business.
I'll tell you, one of the things I think you guys that has to be on the flotilla is mimes.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
Then we can't have any clowns.
Why can't you have clowns?
Because clowns and mimes fight. They're like bad. Like, they can't be in the same room together.
Be part of
Not only that, but people are afraid of clowns. Who's afraid of a mime? Have you ever heard
this is true.
Anything about mimes?
This is true.
Yeah, clowns are frightening.
Yeah. And just think, if one of the boats gets stuck, the mime can draw a door for the boat to go through.
I love it.
It's the middle of the day. The drinking hasn't even begun.
Love it.
Oh wow.
So I'm liking the idea. I think we should really we gotta explore this.
I'm
Maybe
telling you,
over a
when
bottle
you
of
start
wine or
looking
something.
into it, there's a,
Yeah,
I
man.
don't like I don't watch any of like this, there's a lot of like sailing YouTube channels and stuff, but I started occasionally watching this one channel with this British guy who lives on a canal boat in the UK. And I mean, it is like mind-blowingly boring, but so
Oh,
relaxing to
wonderful.
watch. The guy gets like, it's amazing. Like, it's got this little single cylinder diesel in it, and the guy gets up and he makes some
That's
toast and tea.
coffee.
Tea only for this. He's a true Brit, and it's just him on the boat. So he self-produces all this stuff, and he's just driving through these, like slowly motoring through these canals. And I'm like, dude, that looks like
So nice.
what a nice, relaxing, like, you're not worried about the weather. You're not worried about some storm showing up. He's just like, yep, I'm just putting at like 2 miles an hour. That's what I got. It's amazing.
I guess as sailors, we live it. We do live as 99% boredom, but 1% sheer terror, and we've been through sheer terror out in the ocean. So just to know that there's a boat out there where there'll be no 1% is really really like, let's do this. I want to try that.
Yeah,
It does give a different meaning to the 1%.
Yeah.
it does. It totally does. It does, and it's crazy too. Because it's only 1%, you forget about it so quickly. It's like, you do like this open ocean passage, and you get your ass handed to you in some crappy weather. As soon as you get to the place you're going, like arrive in Bermuda or whatever, and you get a beer in your hand or something, it's like
It's gone.
you just forget about the fact that you just were like, holding on for dear life for 5 days. You're like, it's so
It
wild.
sounds a little like childbirth, actually.
It could be related
Similar,
to it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So hey, I gotta ask you because I didn't get it in earlier. You have a cat on the boat.
Yes.
Oh yes, we do. We have a cat, and his name is Captain Jackson. He is a shelter cat from the U.S. Virgin Islands on the island of St. Croix. Had no intentions on having a cat aboard, never really interested. We've had a snake on board. He was a great pet. But our youngest daughter needed our oldest daughter left, so we're like, maybe a companion for Riley, a pet. So we saw this cat, and that was it. I said, fine, we'll do the cat, but the cat needs to be toilet trained.
No cat box.
No cat box on board. Sorry, that's a
Not
no.
happening.
So
Right.
I figured if I can toilet train 2 humans, I can toilet train a cat, right? Well, he's toilet trained. So he's toilet trained. He's a boat cat. We've done some cat overboard drills. He knows how to get back on the boat if he goes overboard. If we do offshore passages for lengths of days, he's got 3 life jackets. He's got more than my kid. He's got pink, green, blue, and he has a harness. He's tethered onto the boat so he can't get off if we're sailing. And he really loves being on the boat. He really loves it.
He does. He really prefers it. There's like all this multi-level stuff, and he can, through the hatches. He's got a hammock. It's like a cat.
He still sleeps in the hammock.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think we got to get a larger one though, because now he's kind of finally like full grown. So I think he's a little small for it.
If you guys listening in, we have an Instagram, Stell and Snugs. I will put him in the story so you can see him on the boat. But yeah, he's a trip.
Yeah, and actually, if you go to the website, we have 2 years ago was like the last really big passage that we had as a full family. So I actually made a documentary, about the passage up. It's kind of chronological, and it's really, it's about an hour long, and it's really most of it. There's not a lot of talking. It's a lot of just sailing and kind of imagery of what 2 weeks at sea with a family is like. And there's a lot of shots in there of the cat doing his thing, and we're literally sailing straight from. I think we were moved from St. Croix to straight to Atlantic City, New Jersey. So it was just kind of like, it was actually like, I think 11 days or whatever of a passage, but it's real fun. And we put our own music in there and stuff like that. So that's called Passage North. So that's a fun thing to watch. If you're kind of pining for a different life, you can kind of see what the boat life is really like. What does it take to move a boat from, for 1,800 miles over the open ocean?
Yeah, and where is that on the website? Is it on the website or on Instagram?
It's on stellandsnugs.com. So it's on the Stell and Snugs website.
Okay, cool. So go watch it. I'm gonna watch it.
It's also on we have a YouTube channel too, which is Stell and Snugs, and it's definitely that's where it's kind of hosted is there as well. So you can go there and you can see some music videos too if you go to the YouTube channel. We've got a lot of different things there. It's mostly the music, and the documentary really was, I put a lot of our music in there as well to kind of, you know,
Promote self promotion over there shamelessly. No problem.
Cool. So, um, to wrap up the weekend and wrap up the show, I'm just going to ask you guys what, and it's always like, this is like asking somebody what your favorite song is. It's like really nobody knows how to answer it. So just, I guess it's another free association of, what do you think the world could use more of right now?
ooh,
See?
Of less.
yeah,
More of less. You don't need a lot.
that's it.
We need to stop consuming so much.
Yeah.
I really think so. We're but that I mean we're our imprint's very small. We chose this also because we love the planet and the earth and the ocean, the water, and we want to take care of it. So we chose this kind of crazy way of doing it, but less is more. You don't need a lot to be happy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
I think that could be a movement, more of less.
Yeah.
Yeah,
More
well,
or less.
there is a lot of a movement for that, and I think especially in America, it's difficult to get through that. Like American society has really, and this isn't something where I think it's individual Americans, but I mean how capitalism in general, like we've become so focused in America on products. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
selling a thing, whereas but I think that there is also this other really amazing movement about selling a service or having a service or a skill. Like there is this change that's happening. But we still have so much to do, and it's just a matter of like I always tell people when they say they're like, well, I don't know how to improve my life or whatever. It's just like, well, go into your storage spaces and your living space. And I want you to take all of the things that you have not touched in a month or 2 months that are not like important tools, that are really useful things.
Yeah.
And take them all out and put them in a pile. You know what I mean? And then take a look at that pile and think to yourself, like, well, how much, money have I spent on the things in this pile? And how long did it take me to earn that money? And then how much money am I paying every month for this extra space that I need to store all this stuff? And right there's like a passageway to like what would happen if I simplified my life. I wouldn't need as big of a space to live in, and I wouldn't have as high of a rent, and I wouldn't, or a mortgage, and I wouldn't have to work as much. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think all of those things, I mean, in the simplification of your life, materially, you find the simplification of your life in your mindset, and the simplification of your life in your mindset opens up time that you can use to do things that make you happy,
Yeah.
painting, relaxing, reading books, like all the things that all of us find, it's like, oh God, I wish I just had more time to go surfing, or I wish I had more time to go for a bike ride or to go camping or all of this stuff. And it's true. You know what I mean? There's a real force in the world that's just like, yes, you need to work. You need to go work. You need to go work because we're forcing the cell phone, and you need the cell phone, and you need the Wi-Fi, and you need the monthly, that you see how everything goes into this like monthly subscription thing where it's like, you can't, you used to not be able to walk out of your house without having somebody reach in your pocket and take $20. Well, now you can't even wake up in the morning, because you've got some monthly subscription to do the very simplest of things. So I think kind of like having this realization of that and trying to get get away from that a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, you know what I mean? We weren't doing that. Life has changed so much in the past 2 decades that we don't even realize it, you know, and you think to yourself, what was my life like before there were cell phones and before there were, you know, like that? It's a major convenience, but it's also a gigantic time consumer, you know, and
Yeah.
it takes a lot of your time away.
Yeah. I mean, I question whether or not technology is actually, I don't think technology has saved us time. I think it's just given us more to do.
Yeah.
And I had put, I had a house, you guys know, I had a house out in Jersey. And one day I was like, there's too much stuff in this house. I'm one person. And I sent to everybody, like my family and everybody, I sent them a message and said, hey, don't expect me to answer your phone calls, emails, anything for a week. I'm taking a week off. And I went through the house room by room and I packed up stuff that I didn't need or didn't want or clothes that I had outgrown or whatever, just stuff. I just packed up stuff.
Yeah.
And I put it in the garage. And each box, as I put it in the garage, I figured out how much I kind of roundabout. I mean, I didn't go crazy with it, but I figured out how much I bought, how much I paid for the items in the box.
Right.
And I
Right.
wrote the dollar amount on the box. And at the end, it's a 2-car garage, probably like a third of it was full. And I calculated it was like $15,000 worth.
Jesus
Oh wow.
Christ.
And it was like,
Oh my
I mean, it was
God.
furniture and like it was clothes and furniture, you name it. I was just like, I'm getting rid of all this shit. It was like
Yeah.
$15,000. And I was
Yep.
like, so every time now, my friend Dane and I do this. Like when we go shopping together, he's like, do you need it? I'm like, I don't need anything. And we end up not buying anything, So now I go to buy something and it's in me of like, how much is the next box going to cost me that's going in the garage to donate? Can I use the money for something else? I'm like, yeah, you know what? I can use the money to go on vacation, like not really extravagant vacations, but you guys know, like, we'll go down to St. Croix a couple of times a year and just like, connect with people down there and connect
Right.
with nature and connect with the water and
It's a
I'll
life,
spend my
you
money
know,
that way.
you
To
can use
me,
that money to just have time and have a life,
yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
like too. It's like,
That the whole the whole paying for experiences, and going places
it's a
and
big thing.
traveling, that's like health insurance for me.
yeah,
That's just like that just brings you so much joy and it's so healthy for people to get out of their extreme, their immediate environments and look around,
yeah,
like that. I think that's totally worth it.
And
Absolutely.
I think that, that really opens up, I guess like sort of the end all be all of that. How do you simplify? What do you get out of it?
Hmm.
We are always hearing about, what's the latest medical craze? You know what I mean? It's always some physical malady. We
yeah,
don't talk about stress. Stress is probably the number one killer in the world,
yeah,
because when human beings are stressed out, then you start seeing physical maladies that come, heart disease, like
Hmm.
all kinds of different things. And it's like, if we for a moment could just put that stress quotient on something, like
right,
how much, so not only like what did that box cost you, how much stress did you have to go through to get that box?
right. To
You
get
know
the
what I
box
mean?
and
And
maintain the box. Think about it, because you
right,
don't just get it.
right.
Then you have to
So
maintain all your shit.
right,
Yeah.
right.
And you have to pay mortgages and rents and
No
storage
shit.
fees and to store all your crap that you bought.
and that's
Yeah.
and that is such a big deal, right? That's the stuff that you are paying for and working for every month, like this is your life, that's part of your grind. And when you think about that, you're like, that's not a stress that just happens one time. That is a constant stress level. So
Right.
where is your constant stress level, and what can you do to alleviate that? And when Christelle says, like, I consider these things health insurance, it is a form of
Yeah.
health insurance,
It
that
is.
alleviating that daily stress as much as possible, the things that you don't think of that are almost subconscious. Human beings are amazing. You can deal with this amazing level of stress, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
man, if you could just like subtract that and get rid of that, the benefits to your mental and physical health are like astronomical,
Yeah.
astronomical.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, no kidding. And it's funny because it's the phrase, you had brought it up, the phrase of people saying, I wish I had more time to do this or that.
Right.
And I keep telling anybody I hear say that, I'm like, you know what? People think that money is the limiting reagent in their lives. It's
Right.
not. It's time.
It's time.
You only have so much time on this planet, and no matter how much money you have, you can't buy more time.
You can't buy time. That's the way everybody says. Oh, time is money. It's like, yeah, not really, man. Not when it comes to you working. Maybe time is money, but when it comes time to you living, time and money are two extremely different things.
Sure is.
You know, money.
I have a speaker request. I'm gonna ask somebody to come up before we close it out. So hold on.
Okay.
Sure.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much. I'll be brief.
Sure. You have a great voice, though. You can take as long as you want.
Tell my wife that. Anyway, so the conversation is great. It's reminded me of several things. One, Steve Jobs at the end of his life, reflecting upon what life is all about, said, I have this watch. It's worth so much money, but this watch and a cheap watch do the same thing. They tell time.
Right.
The cars that are so expensive that I've owned, they do the same thing. They get you to the same places, no matter what you spend on them. And he talked about the value of relationships and not stuff. So that's always something I've remembered. And then I came across something on TikTok the other day. And I'm a 65-year-old man and I go to TikTok. But anyway,
I applaud you.
it said, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. We were just responding. Keep going. I love this TikTok. Please go.
Okay. Anyway, it said this: average American spends $15 a day eating out. That's $450 a month. Include drinks, about $600 to $750 a month. In 2 months, you can buy a ticket anywhere in the world. You can afford to travel. You're just too lazy to cook.
That's funny.
Bravo.
That's funny.
I like that one.
Anyway, I thought it was hilarious, and you guys have inspired me to do something that I've done in the past, but I need to complete. Here in San Francisco, we not only have high rents, we also have storage units because we never have enough room for the stuff we own.
Right.
And for the past 25 years, I've been paying storage on boxes
Oh my God.
I literally have not seen the contents of in 25 years. I have boxes that are marked seashells, for crying out loud. So thank you for kicking me in the pants, and have a great day.
So Chris, listen.
Seashells, and you live in San Francisco. You could just go to the beach. It's the thing that we do. We hoard stuff. We're like, I got this stuff. I got this.
Dude, it's gonna feel so good.
Chris, I think you should call it it's not a storage space. I think you should call it a time capsule, and the time to open up the capsule is expired.
Ooh, I love it. I have drawings, primitive drawings from my 25-year-old daughter's first grade class. I mean, come on, people. It's time to let things.
That stuff is tough to let go of, though. You know what? I actually took a whole bunch of drawings my son did, and I used to put them in lucite frames in the kitchen. We had a wall of lucite frames, and he'd bring a new piece of artwork home, and I'd be like, "Hey, where do you want to hang it?" And he'd say, "Oh, well, let's get rid of that one, and we'll put this one in there," and we would swap it out. And ultimately ended up making like when he got older, made a collage frame and put a whole bunch of it in, and just made it kind of like this crazy modern art from a 3-year-old.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I burdened him with, because I wanted to get it out of the house. So he probably has a storage space now.
Well, thank you for the inspiration. Have a great day. I'm going to go down to the audience and enjoy the complimentary shrimp cocktail.
Thank you so much, Chris. It was such a pleasure. I love your sense of humor.
That's awesome. And just so everybody knows who's listening, I put the link as well for Passage North on YouTube up in the fortune cookie. So there's 3 fortune cookie links. One's if you live around the New York City area and you want a boat charter. There's a link to the company Yacht Rock Charters, which is Jared and Christelle Aston.
Sail with us, get some health insurance. It's so fun. Yeah. We also teach classes as well. We teach sailing classes on our traditionally built schooner as well. We have adult sailing classes. So, yeah, man, come join us in New York if you guys want a view of Manhattan sunset on Jamaica Bay. We're your people.
And if you want to book music, Stell and Snugs website is on there, stellandsnugs.com, and I put the YouTube link for Passage North. So, with that, any closing comments or any final thoughts?
No, man. Everybody just be well to each other. That's you say what's the world needs to be simple. We need to treat each other with respect, and you know, especially with where we're at in the world right now. We thought we were doing great, and still got a lot of room for some nasty animals to come up and make people's lives hell. So
Right.
the more positive energy we can throw out into the world, and every relationship that you have, hopefully that just keeps carrying forward. So eliminate the stress.
Yeah.
Have a
Yeah.
nice positive day,
And
but
don't
don't
be
be but
complacent
don't
with
be too
time
like
or stuff.
yeah, but don't like wake up in the morning and do like the affirmations in the mirror kind of thing. That stuff freaks me out.
No,
That's a little
dude,
weird.
I believe in that stuff. Stop it. I do it. Thank
Well,
you so much, Diana. It was such a pleasure. And
yeah,
thanks for everyone tuning in. Thank you.
yeah, and we'll see you we'll see you when we come back up, because we're going to be in St. Croix till the 11th of May. So,
Nice.
we'll catch you when
Boo.
we come up.
Boo.
All right. Thanks for
Well,
joining. Really appreciate it. Have an amazing weekend, everybody, and be kind to each other and take that time back.
thank you, everyone. Have a great weekend.
And we're going to leave you this weekend with a little music from Stell and Snug. So enjoy and have peace.